front of you. This is a recovery panel. And rather than take up a lot of time to introduce our fabulous guests, I'm going to let them introduce themselves right after I introduce myself, which will take the first 12 minutes. I'm Paul, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Paul.
And 25 years sober, and it's been the most amazing life that I could ever have imagined. All of us are in recovery up here, and I would imagine that many of the people watching and many of the people in the room are in various stages of recovery. Perhaps some of you from things you don't know you need to recover from yet. So the focus of this panel is going to be about giving back, because a huge part of recovery is living life in love and service, as Tracy and I were talking about. It's a key element to the recovery to the recovery program that saved our lives, or saved some of our lives and all. I'm going to begin with Judith and let Judith tell you a little bit about herself. This is Judith Roberts from North Dakota.
Yes. Thank you, Paul. Like Paul said, my name is Judith Roberts, and I am an alcoholic. Hi.
Hi, Judith.
January 19th of this year was 6 years clean and sober. And my background is I was an attorney until about a year and a half ago, when I opened up 2 sober living homes for women in North Dakota, which are the only sober living homes in the state. So that's been quite a journey this last year.
Fabulous. Adrienne.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Glasser. Thanks for having me here. I run a group practice here in Manhattan called Experience Wellness Group. We combine mindfulness and other experiential methods that look at different parts of ourselves and how we can have compassion for them. I'm very passionate about a new project that's really giving back to this community, both the eating disorder and addiction community, called Recovering Compassion. It's a group that we're going to be donation-based and being able to give people really some compassion that's really needed in the recovery world. And I know that from my own recovery process of, having recovered from an eating disorder and really believing that the thing that healed me the most was the compassion for all different parts of myself, to have then more compassion for others. Yeah. So thanks.
James.
Hi, I'm James Gray. I'm a performing songwriter and a music person based in the West Coast. This September, if all goes well, I'll have 27 years sobriety and 17 years as a grateful member of the Al-Anon program. It's great to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we all act out in different ways. We all try to feel, I describe it as trying to fill that God-shaped hole in the center of my chest, which I tried to do with alcohol and cocaine and certainly food and all. In our book, Tracy and I talk about not so much about what people eat, which is important, that we watch that and all, but why they eat and when they eat. That's your area of expertise.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm a big believer in mindful eating, so that there's a mindful structure to your day, eating every 3 to 4 hours, but doing it based on body cues and what your body actually craves and needs in terms of nutrition, and really listening to your body in that way.
Yeah. What about giving back, though? Why? I mean, the subject is essentially giving back. What is it about giving back because I know how it makes me feel. I feel like I'm not in the way, and I love that feeling. What is it about giving? Because, you hocked your house. You put it all up for sale, essentially, to be able to open the recovery centers or the sober living centers, the homes that you did. Hope Manor in North. There was no sober living for women in North Dakota. This lady hocked her house, everything, and opened the first, and she now has 2 sober living homes under the name of Hope Manor. What drove you to do that?
Well, the one thing that I think is important to know is I entered recovery 6.5 years ago, and I thought that it was to address my drinking and drug use, which it did. Yeah. And that, of course, needs to be addressed. But what I found in recovery, and especially through the 12 steps, was that I gained so much more. There's so much more to it. And what that is that that hole that we all have inside of us. Yeah. And it's a spiritual journey, and I call it a God-shaped hole. And through my recovery, I learned to be grateful. I didn't have a grateful bone in my body before recovery at all. And I hated life, I hated myself, and I hated everybody else. And that's how I lived. And I had the big time prestigious job. I had the 6-figure income. I had the sports cars.
You're an attorney.
I am an attorney by trade. And through recovery, I learned gratitude, because I don't get to keep what I have gained through recovery unless I give it away. And that is such an important aspect. And then through recovery, I then learned trust. After I met this gentleman, I had a profound aha moment, and my life started incorporating a great deal of trust, because I started opening these sober living homes. I had to shut down my law business because I could not maintain both. Got rid of my sports cars. I don't have an income now, and pretty much hawked everything to open these homes for women. But so every day I live on trust. I don't have an income now. I don't get paid, things like that. But that's not the big deal. I may not have the power and the prestige and the possessions that I used to have, but my life now is so much more meaningful. So much more meaningful, because I get to see women's lives transformed in front of my eyes. I am privileged to be on the sidelines and watch women, it's like plucked from the scrap heap of humanity and set on a new path. And it is the most amazing and beautiful thing. And so I may have nothing according to society, but I have gained a life that's beyond my wildest dreams.
I have to tell a really quick story, and it'll be really, really quick, but flying from west to east, yesterday, as we both did, you had the same problem I did.
Yes.
Delays. All of a sudden, you were going to miss your connection in Minneapolis to get here. So she goes to the agent at the airline and says she's got to get here, whatever like that. And he looks, he sees her name, and he goes, "You're Judith Roberts. My aunt is in Hope Manor." The agent who was taking care of the flight to get her on a flight to get her here on time.
Yes.
His aunt is in Hope Manor, a guest of Judith, and it was just somebody whispering to us. You wrote a song called "Monsters Under My Bed."
Yes.
Part of recovery is dealing with the monsters under our bed, getting them out, getting them in the light, and eventually being of service.
Absolutely. I was thinking when you asked that question, I thought the first part is I have to receive. In the recovery, we receive and then we give back what's freely given us. It's important, as I became educated, I was immersed in the family disease of alcoholism. It had a lot of wreckage in my life. The monsters under the bed were plentiful. And as I learned about those, I turned it around, and I love that saying, you grow where you're planted. So today, I have a vibrant group that I work with of people that come through, and I tend to gravitate towards creatives. I tend to gravitate towards folks that might have issues like myself. And it's no mystery, you see them. They're right there. And we were joking around before we came on stage. I want to have joygasms. And there's nothing that will ensure more multiple joygasms than giving back to people.
Joygasms for everybody. Here, have a joygasm, Part of what you do is around movement. I mean, that's once I have to actually admit it, that's something I know nothing about. You won't hear me say that a lot because I still have a large ego. The ego dies 3 hours after we do. It leaves 3 hours after we die, the ego leaves the body. But I have to admit, I know nothing about that world of specific movement therapy?
Yeah, and actually we're actually in a home of movement therapy. The 92nd Street Y provides training in dance movement therapy. But the way that I use it with people in recovery is more like a moving meditation. And by using movement and the way that our bodies want to naturally move, we're able to get into what our truth is and to really discover what makes us who we are. And my big, philosophy is really being able to have acceptance towards all parts of ourselves. So, movement and accepting stupid movement, silly movement. I mean, nothing is silly or stupid. And it's the same thing with the internal parts of ourselves, like these monsters under the bed. When we really get to know them, like Monsters, Inc., they're really friendly and cuddly and nice. And, with addictions and eating disorders, a lot of those behaviors are just trying to protect us. So by being able to have compassion towards those parts, that really provides a deeper level of healing for people that I experienced both, by having compassion through meditation and through different psychotherapy practices like internal family systems, but I also had experienced it firsthand through movement. By being able to allow your body to do what it naturally wants to do and just have acceptance over whatever happens is a profound practice.
Yeah.